The morning rush was in full swing, and the little cafe on the corner buzzed with life. Behind the tinted glass, people sipped their coffee, oblivious to the figure standing just outside. His clothes were ragged, his hair tucked under a worn beanie, and his face was almost unrecognizable under layers of dirt. But the piercing gaze that peeked out from beneath the grime was unmistakable. It was Cristiano Ronaldo. What would make one of the world's most famous athletes trade his luxury life for the disguise of a homeless man? Stick with this story to the very end, because what unfolds is more than just an experiment. It's a lesson in humanity that will leave you speechless. And if you're ready for more such jaw-dropping tales, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Cristiano had planned this meticulously. He wanted to know how people treated someone who had nothing to offer, no fame, no wealth, just a humble request for kindness. The cafe wasn't chosen randomly either. Rumor had it that this place treated its wealthiest customers like royalty, while ignoring those who couldn't pay top dollar. Cristiano decided he needed to see it for himself. As he stepped inside, the warmth of the cafe hit him, contrasting sharply with the chill of the outside. Heads turned briefly, some with disdain, others with indifference. He shuffled to the counter, his posture hunched, his voice soft as he asked, "Could I have a cup of water, please?" The barista, a young man with a sharp uniform and an even sharper attitude, didn't even glance up. "If you're not buying anything, you can't stay here," he said curtly, loud enough for a few customers nearby to snicker. Cristiano nodded silently and moved to a corner, his face blank but his mind observing every detail. Moments later, a child's laughter broke the tension. A little girl, no older than 6, ran up to him with a smile that could light up the room. She handed him a piece of her muffin, her innocence cutting through the judgment in the air. "Mama says sharing is kind," she chirped. Her mother, embarrassed, quickly pulled her back, apologizing under her breath. But Cristiano's heart warmed at the gesture, a rare flicker of kindness in a room filled with cold stares. The twist? Just when everyone thought he was about to leave, Cristiano reached into his shabby coat and pulled out a crumpled €50 note. He walked back to the counter, holding the money out to the same barista who had dismissed him earlier. "On second thought," he said, his voice steady but low, "I'll have your most expensive coffee." The barista's eyes widened as he took the bill, clearly flustered. But before he could react further, another voice interrupted from the side. A man in a suit who had been watching the entire scene unfold. "You shouldn't serve him," the man sneered. "People like him don't belong here." Cristiano paused, his eyes locking on the man with a look so intense, the room seemed to go silent. What he said next would turn the entire cafe on its head. The cafe fell into a tense silence as Cristiano turned to face the man in the suit. His expression remained calm, but there was an unmistakable fire in his eyes. "And what kind of people belong here?" Cristiano asked, his voice measured yet piercing. The suited man smirked, gesturing dismissively. "People who contribute to society. People who can afford to be here, not freeloaders looking for handouts." A few customers shifted uncomfortably in their seats, while others nodded subtly in agreement. Cristiano, still holding his coffee cup in hand, took a slow step forward. The disguise still hid his true identity, but his presence suddenly felt larger, commanding the attention of everyone in the room. "Interesting," Cristiano said, his tone now firm. "Do you know what someone's worth is? Is it their money, their clothes, their status? Or is it something more?" The man in the suit chuckled, clearly unimpressed. "It's common sense. People are judged by their success. If you can't succeed, you're just a burden. Simple as that." The little girl who had shared her muffin earlier tugged at her mother's sleeve, whispering, "Mama, that man is mean." Her innocent voice echoed louder than intended, drawing a few chuckles from the crowd. Cristiano turned to the child, offering her a gentle smile. "You're right," he said softly, kneeling to her level. "Kindness is never mean, and kindness is what makes someone truly successful." He straightened and faced the barista and the man in the suit again. "Let me show you something," he said, pulling out an old, folded piece of paper from his pocket. Unfolding it slowly, he revealed what looked like a photograph. The barista leaned in out of curiosity, and his face turned pale as recognition hit him. The photo was an image of Cristiano Ronaldo celebrating after winning a major football match. The realization spread through the room like wildfire, whispers and gasps breaking the silence. "Wait a second, is that really Cristiano Ronaldo?" One customer muttered, his voice filled with disbelief. The suited man's smirk faltered, replaced by visible confusion. "No way," he muttered, shaking his head as if trying to dismiss the thought. Cristiano took off his beanie and brushed back his messy hair, revealing his unmistakable face. The room erupted in shock, the once judgmental eyes now wide with disbelief. "Yes, it's me," Cristiano confirmed, his voice calm but commanding. "I came here today not as a football star, but as someone who wanted to see how people treat those they think are beneath them." He turned his gaze directly at the man in the suit. "And you failed," the man stammered, his face flushing red. I didn't know it was you." Cristiano's expression hardened. "That's the problem. Kindness shouldn't depend on who someone is or what they have. Everyone deserves respect." The barista, now visibly shaken, blurted out, "Mr. Ronaldo, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean—" Cristiano held up a hand, silencing him. "Apologies are easy. Actions are harder. Remember this moment the next time someone walks through your door." He picked up his coffee and walked to the little girl who had shown him kindness when no one else would. He crouched down and handed her the cup. "For you," he said with a warm smile. "You have the biggest heart in this room." The girl beamed as her mother whispered a heartfelt thank you. But just as everyone thought the scene was over, Cristiano turned back to the crowd, his final words leaving everyone stunned. "You all judged me because of how I look today. Now imagine how many people you've judged before me." The weight of his words hung in the air as he walked out of the cafe, leaving a silence that no one dared to break. As Cristiano stepped out of the cafe, the weight of the moment lingered inside, leaving everyone deep in thought. The little girl clutched the cup of coffee he had given her, her innocent smile lighting up the room in stark contrast to the tension moments before. The suited man, now visibly embarrassed, muttered something under his breath and hurried toward the exit, trying to avoid further humiliation. But before he could leave, a voice stopped him in his tracks. "You know," a middle-aged woman seated by the window said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "it's funny how quickly people change when they realize someone's famous. What about the people who don't have fame or money? Do they not deserve the same respect?" The man paused, but he didn't turn back. His shoulders stiffened, and he disappeared out the door. Inside, the barista stood frozen behind the counter, replaying everything that had just happened. His coworker nudged him gently. "You should probably sit down," she whispered. Outside, Cristiano walked down the busy street, still in his tattered disguise. He wasn't done with his experiment just yet. The cafe had shown him one side of humanity, but he wanted to see if kindness could prevail elsewhere. He stopped at a street corner where a musician played a soulful tune on his worn guitar. A small jar sat in front of him, holding a few scattered coins. Cristiano listened for a moment, nodding to the rhythm, then reached into his pocket and dropped a folded bill into the jar. "Thank you," the musician said, his eyes lighting up. "Not many stop to listen these days." Cristiano smiled, but before he could respond, a commotion caught his attention. Across the street, a group of teenagers were laughing loudly as they surrounded an elderly man carrying a heavy bag. One of them nudged the man roughly, causing him to stumble. Cristiano's jaw tightened. Without hesitation, he crossed the street, his stride purposeful but calm. The teenagers didn't notice him at first, too caught up in their mocking laughter. "Is this how you show your strength?" Cristiano's voice cut through the noise like a knife. The group turned to face him, their expressions shifting from amusement to confusion. "Who are you?" one of them sneered. Cristiano didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stepped between them and the elderly man, his towering presence enough to make them hesitate. "You think it makes you powerful to hurt someone weaker than you?" he asked, his tone steady but firm. "Real strength is in lifting others, not pushing them down." The leader of the group smirked, trying to mask his discomfort. "Whatever, old man," he muttered, motioning for his friends to follow him. But before they could walk away, Cristiano's next words froze them in their tracks. "Walk away now," he said, his voice low but commanding. "And remember this moment the next time you think about bullying someone. It's not courage, it's cowardice." The teenagers exchanged uneasy glances before reluctantly retreating, their bravado crumbling under Cristiano's unwavering gaze. The elderly man looked up, his face a mix of gratitude and surprise. "Thank you," he said, his voice trembling. "I didn't think anyone would step in." Cristiano smiled gently. "We all have a choice," he replied, "to stand by or to stand up. Today, I chose to stand up." As the man walked away, Cristiano's disguise still hid his identity, but his actions spoke louder than fame ever could. What he didn't know was that someone had been watching from a distance, recording everything. The video would soon go viral, sparking a debate far bigger than Cristiano could have imagined. By the next morning, the video had already spread like wildfire across social media platforms. It started as a simple post: "Homeless man teaches bullies a lesson they'll never forget." The clip showed Cristiano, still in his ragged disguise, stepping in to defend the elderly man. The video didn't reveal his identity, but people were captivated by his courage and composure. Comments flooded in, praising the mystery man for his bravery. "What a hero! We need more people like him in this world. Who is this guy? Someone needs to find him." But it wasn't long before someone recognized the subtle mannerisms, the walk, and the distinct way he carried himself. Speculation began to brew. Could this man, dressed in rags, actually be Cristiano Ronaldo? At first, the idea seemed absurd. Why would one of the world's richest and most famous athletes walk the streets in disguise? Yet, the evidence started piling up. A close-up of his profile matched several fan photos. His height and build were unmistakable. "Is this Cristiano Ronaldo undercover?" a popular sports blog headlined, and the internet went into a frenzy. Meanwhile, Cristiano was oblivious to the chaos brewing online. He continued his journey through the city, observing how people treated the less fortunate. He stopped at shelters, chatted with street vendors, and even helped a struggling single mother carry her groceries. But as the day progressed, the weight of his experiment began to take its toll. While there were moments of kindness, the indifference he encountered was overwhelming. People rushed past others in need, their eyes glued to their phones or lost in their own thoughts. At one point, he sat on a bench, watching a young boy attempt to sell flowers to uninterested passersby. The boy's small voice barely carried over the din of the street, and his basket remained full. Cristiano approached him, crouching down to his level. "How much for the whole basket?" he asked softly. The boy's eyes widened. "All of them? Really?" Cristiano nodded, pulling out a few bills. "Yes, but there's one condition," he said with a gentle smile. "What's that?" the boy asked, clutching the basket tightly. "I want you to give these flowers to anyone you think needs cheering up," Cristiano replied. The boy's face lit up with a mixture of joy and confusion, but he agreed. He began handing out the flowers to strangers, a tired nurse, a lonely-looking man, and even a grumpy street performer. Cristiano watched from a distance as the simple act of giving transformed the atmosphere around the boy. Smiles replaced frowns, and conversations sparked between strangers. But his moment of quiet reflection was interrupted when a group of journalists appeared, cameras flashing. Someone had tipped them off about his location. "Cristiano, is it true you've been walking the streets disguised as a homeless man?" one reporter shouted. "Why are you doing this?" another demanded. Cristiano stood up, his calm demeanor unshaken. The boy with the flowers froze, staring wide-eyed at the scene unfolding before him. Cristiano raised a hand to silence the barrage of questions. "I'm doing this," he said, his voice steady, To remind myself, and others, that humanity isn't about fame or fortune. It's about how we treat those who have neither. The reporters fell silent, their pens poised mid-air. But before Cristiano could say more, the boy tugged at his sleeve. "Mister, does this mean you're really a hero?" he asked, his innocent eyes filled with awe. Cristiano knelt down, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "No, little one," he said with a warm smile. "The real heroes are people like you, who spread kindness without expecting anything in return." The boy beamed, holding up the empty basket as proof of his good deed. As the crowd around them grew, Cristiano knew it was time to bring his experiment to an end. But the impact of his actions had already rippled far beyond what he could have imagined. What started as a quiet journey to test humanity had become a global movement. People from all walks of life were sharing their own acts of kindness, inspired by the homeless hero. Cristiano couldn't have planned it better. The world didn't just need reminders of kindness, it needed to see it in action. And though the disguise had been discarded, his message remained. It wasn't about who he was, it was about who we could all choose to be. The days following the public reveal were nothing short of extraordinary. News outlets, social media, and even major talk shows buzzed with one topic: Cristiano Ronaldo's unexpected journey as a disguised homeless man. The footage from the café, his act of kindness towards the elderly man, and his heartwarming moment with the young boy had ignited a global conversation. Fans around the world hailed him as more than just a football legend. They saw him as a symbol of humility and humanity. But not everyone was convinced. Critics questioned his motives. This could just be a publicity stunt. One analyst claimed during a heated debate on a primetime news show, "Why would someone of Ronaldo's stature need to do this?" Others defended him passionately. "He doesn't need the attention. He's already one of the most recognized faces on the planet," countered a fan. "This is about using his influence for something bigger." Cristiano, meanwhile, stayed quiet. He had no interest in engaging with debates or defending himself. Instead, he focused on what truly mattered, continuing his newfound mission of bridging gaps between privilege and poverty. One morning, he sat down for an exclusive interview, not with a major network but with a small independent journalist who had covered his story empathetically. The journalist asked the one question the world was dying to hear: "Why did you do it?" Cristiano smiled faintly, leaning forward. "It wasn't about testing people or creating a spectacle," he said, his voice calm yet passionate. "I wanted to understand the world beyond stadiums and luxury. Fame can make you forget what it's like to be invisible, to be overlooked. I needed to feel that, even if just for a few days." The interview aired globally and brought tears to millions. But what happened next added another twist to the story. A billionaire philanthropist, inspired by Cristiano's actions, pledged to fund a global initiative aimed at supporting homeless communities. This wasn't just a donation, it was a call to action for others to follow suit. Soon, companies, celebrities, and even ordinary individuals joined in, creating what the media began calling the Ronaldo ripple effect. Homeless shelters saw record numbers of donations, and volunteer registrations soared. But in the midst of the global outpouring of support, one man watched from the shadows: the café manager who had been exposed for mistreating Cristiano. His life had turned upside down after the incident. The café had been boycotted, and he'd lost his job. One evening, as Cristiano was visiting a shelter to meet those impacted by homelessness, the man approached him hesitantly. His eyes were downcast, his hands trembling. "Mr. Ronaldo," he began, his voice barely a whisper. "I wanted to apologize. I was wrong, so very wrong. I let my judgments blind me, and now I've lost everything." Cristiano looked at him silently for a moment before speaking. "It takes courage to admit when you've been wrong," he said softly. "But losing something doesn't mean it's the end. It's a chance to start again." The man nodded, tears streaming down his face. Cristiano reached into his pocket and handed him a card. "This is the contact for a shelter nearby. They're always looking for people willing to help." The man stared at the card in disbelief. "You'd still help me? After everything?" Cristiano smiled gently. Everyone deserves a second chance. What matters is what you do with it. That moment, caught on camera by a passerby, went viral. It became a testament to the power of redemption and forgiveness, further solidifying Cristiano's place as not just a football icon but a global beacon of hope. But as the movement grew, Cristiano faced an internal struggle. The experiment had shown him both the beauty and the cruelty of humanity. And while he was proud of the change it had sparked, he couldn't help but wonder, was it enough? The final chapter of his journey was yet to unfold, but one thing was clear. Cristiano Ronaldo had transformed from a player on the pitch to a player in the game of life, using his influence to create a legacy far greater than trophies and records. Weeks passed, and the world continued to buzz with the aftermath of Cristiano's experiment. The Ronaldo ripple effect, as it had come to be known, continued to grow, and his name became synonymous with kindness, humility, and a call for a better world. But as Cristiano stood at the heart of this global movement, he couldn't help but feel a deeper unease. He had started this journey to test society, to see if kindness could still thrive in a world consumed by self-interest. But now, with so many eyes on him, he realized that the real test was not in what he had done, but in what others would do next. The charity initiatives were in full swing, shelters were being funded, and volunteers were flocking to help those in need. Yet, as much as the world had shifted in response to his actions, Cristiano couldn't shake the feeling that things were still far from perfect. For every person who gave back, there were many more who ignored the cries of the voiceless. For every donation, there were those who would forget tomorrow. One evening, as he sat in his quiet home, gazing out at the city below, he got a call. It was the young boy he had met during his undercover journey. "Mr. Ronaldo, I've been thinking." The boy's voice crackled over the phone. Cristiano smiled softly, leaning back in his chair. "What's on your mind, my friend? I remember what you told me. The real heroes are the ones who spread kindness without expecting anything in return. I want to be a hero too. I want to help people," the boy said, his words filled with determination. Cristiano's heart warmed. "And you will be, trust me. Just keep doing what you're doing." The boy paused before continuing. "But I've been thinking, we need more heroes. People just forget sometimes. You know?" Cristiano felt a deep sense of connection to the boy's words. He understood exactly what he meant. The world had become so accustomed to fleeting moments of charity, moments that faded just as quickly as they came. But real change, lasting change, came from people who remembered, who kept fighting for the good long after the cameras were turned off. "I think we can do more," Cristiano said, his voice suddenly filled with purpose. "I want you to be part of something bigger, a new initiative, one that isn't just about giving money but about changing how people think, how they see each other, how they see the world." The boy's excitement was palpable through the phone. "What do we do, Mr. Ronaldo?" "We create a platform, a movement, something that makes kindness a habit, not just a trend," Cristiano said firmly. "We start small, but we go big. We reach people where it matters most, at the heart." And just like that, the final piece of his journey clicked into place. Cristiano knew it wasn't enough to change people's actions for a few days or weeks. He needed to inspire a fundamental shift in the way people thought about each other, to turn the idea of kindness into something contagious that could never be ignored. The next day, Cristiano made an announcement. The Heroes for Humanity initiative was born, a global platform aimed at promoting small, everyday acts of kindness and encouraging people from all walks of life to join in. The idea was simple. Anyone could be a hero, and no act of kindness was too small. The launch was nothing short of extraordinary. Celebrities, influencers, and everyday people joined forces, each sharing their personal stories of how they had been inspired by the movement. But more importantly, it sparked a worldwide conversation about the importance of compassion, community, and human connection. As Cristiano stood at the helm of this new chapter in his life, he reflected on everything he had learned. He had come to understand that fame and fortune were fleeting, but the impact of kindness could last forever. It didn't matter if the world knew his name or not. What mattered was that he had given the world a chance to be better. And in that moment, Cristiano Ronaldo realized that the most powerful legacy anyone could leave wasn't in the goals scored, the trophies won, or the records broken. It was in the hearts they touched along the way. Cristiano's journey had come full circle, but the world was just beginning to change. And with that, the greatest victory of his life had already been won. Not on the field, but in the lives he had touched, one act of kindness at a time. The end.